السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Alhamdulillah, we've come to dua number 18 from our series Building Resilience in Ramadan through the dua of the prophets and messengers in the Quran. We come to dua number 18 in our series, and this means that we miss one dua, which would put us at dua number 19, which means that tonight is the 20th night of Ramadan. All right, the 19th day, the 20th night of Ramadan. All right, so alhamdulillah, tonight begins the first of the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And these are very important nights that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swore by when He said, Wal Fajr wa layalin ashar, by the dawn and by the 10 nights. And the 10 nights, many of the scholars of tafsir said that these 10 nights are the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And in these nights, there is a night that is worship in this night is better than worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for just about 84 years. A time frame that most of us will probably not live to see 984. Most of us will not probably not live to see 84, but worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this particular night, you will have the reward, or you will have your worship will be equivalent to worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for a total of 83 years. So, alhamdulillah, we've come to dua number 18. Last night we covered the dua of Prophet Musa alayhi salam, where he said, Rabbi lima anzalta ilayya min khairin faqir. Oh my Lord, any good that you have or could send to me, I am in need of it right now. And this was a dua that was made by Prophet Musa alayhi salam in a state of distress, in a state of anxiety, in a state of weakness, right? In a state of weakness. And we said that yesterday, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, loves for us to call on Him when we are in our rawest state of vulnerability. All right, and one of the states of vulnerability is a person realizing that they don't have anything or anyone other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Okay, so we come to dua number 18, and this is a dua of one of the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that, as we will see, was in a state of distress. He became very frustrated with his people after realizing that his people were morally compromised. And this is the dua of none other than Prophet Lut, or in the Bible he's known as Lot. And this was the prophet that was sent to the town of Sodom and Gomorrah, or Sodom or Gomorrah, as is known in Arabic. All right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala destroyed these people for doing something that has become very prevalent today, even amongst Muslims, and even you have Muslim scholars or people who profess to be people of academia, religious academia, who are promoting and propagating and condoning and pathologizing the behavior of homosexuality and lesbianism. Yeah, you have Muslims who are advocating for this today, right now as we speak. So let's take a dive into Lut so that we can understand the pain behind the dua that he made. All right, Lut's story is not mentioned many times in the Quran, but when you listen to the dua of Prophet Lut, you can hear the pain in his voice, the pain of frustration, the pain of fear that, these people were, invoking by their very actions, invoking the punishment and the destruction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? Okay, so let's listen, let's look at Prophet Lut alayhi salam and the story behind the du'as. As we said, we're going to cover the du'a, but we're also going to look at the story behind the du'a so that the dua has more relevance in our lives, as well as we understand the power behind it and the pain behind it. All right, each dua that we've covered of the prophets and messengers has power behind it and pain behind it. Pain is the story that is behind the dua. The power is what was in the pain. In pain there is power, right? Make no mistake about that. In pain there is power, right? In Islam, right? The Prophet ﷺ said that when there's 3 supplications that will always be responded to. One of those supplications is the person that is oppressed. The oppressed person that calls on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will always respond to them. Why? Because there's power in pain. There is power in pain. You understand? Don't ever think that your pain is fruitless. Your pain goes without any merit. Our pain in Islam is meritorious. There's power in pain. Pain is what pushes you, drives you. It's a driving force. It's a motivator. Pain is a motivator. There's some people, when they get knocked down, they use the pain that they feel while they're down to propel them back up. You understand? In pain, there is power. So the story of Prophet Lut alayhi salam is the story of a man whose moral compass was divinely tuned in a toxic environment that was immorally dysfunctional. Right? Prophet Lut alayhi salam is the story of a man whose moral compass was fine-tuned by divine revelation. Fine-tuned by divine revelation, his moral compass. And we live in a society today where people don't even have a concept of a moral compass. Millennials are the biggest opportunists, right? The biggest opportunists that American society has ever known. Millennials. And that is necessarily no pun intended, but with becoming an opportunist, there is a lack of a moral compass. Your moral compass is dictated on or predicated on your desire or your pursuit of whatever it is you are in pursuit of. That is what determines your moral compass. That if you are in pursuit of this or that, then, the end justifies the means, right? That's what an opportunist, that is the concept, the formula for an opportunist. The end justifies the means, right? Whatever your end goal is, whatever means you have to use to get there is justified. And that's an opportunist. They don't function with a moral code. They don't function with a moral compass. Their moral compass is predicated on the end goal of their pursuit. Right? And that is millennials, period. That is millennials. Right? So Lut alayhi salam, his is the story of a man whose moral compass was divinely tuned in a toxic environment that was immorally corrupt. Immorally corrupt. And like any environment that is toxic or dysfunctional, it becomes infectious, right? It becomes infectious. Like it infects anybody that is around or living around that type of environment. All right? The Prophet ﷺ said about the believer that he should not live so close to, in proximity to the disbeliever, right, that you can see their campfire, right? These were people of the desert, so a lot of their references were references that were connected to, a lot of their references are connected to living in the desert. So the Prophet ﷺ, a lot of his references, a lot of his metaphors would be connected to someone who is familiar with the desert, someone who is a shepherd, familiar with sheep herding, right? These are a lot of his references because that is his cultural, that is his cultural background, right? We got to understand the cultural context of the Prophet ﷺ's comments and statements. So, like any environment that is toxic or dysfunctional, right, it becomes infectious, meaning it begins to infect anyone that is living in that environment, polluting anyone and anything that lives in close proximity to that environment, right? And that environment could be your neighborhood, it could be your society, it could be your country, it could be your household, because our household is our immediate environment. So the home that you are growing up in is your immediate environment, and it is one of the greatest influencers in our lives. The homes that we grow up in, our mothers, our fathers, uncles, grandfathers, cousins, everybody that household, governs. That is our immediate environment. And that immediate environment has such an impact on who we will become later on in our lives. Absolutely. You want to look at why a person is the way the way they are right now in their lives? Look at the household they came from. Look at the environment, the immediate environment that they grew up in, because that is what helped to mold, shape, and mold them into who they become later on. All right? So the Prophet ﷺ said that the believer should not live in such close proximity to the disbelievers that you can see their campfire, because now it begins to influence their lifestyle, begins to influence your lifestyle. And as Muslims, our moral compass is there. It's intact, or it should be intact, right? We should have a moral compass. As a Muslim, if you don't have a moral compass, I literally highly doubt your Islam. I highly doubt your Islam, because our entire religion is based upon morality. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّمَا جِئْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. The book that I just wrote about, the Prophet ﷺ said, I have only come to perfect moral character. The Prophet ﷺ said, مَنْ فَاقَكَ في الخلق فقد فاقك في الدين لأن الدين كله خلق. The Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who manages to surpass you in good character has indeed surpassed you in religion, because the religion is good character. Anyone who surpasses you in good character has indeed surpassed you in deen, because deen is good character, moral character. So if you're a Muslim and you don't have a sense of a moral compass, I have some serious doubts about your deen, honestly, because our entire religion is based upon moral character. All right, so just like any environment that is toxic or dysfunctional, it becomes infectious, polluting everything and everyone around it, right? If you are living at home with someone, it could be your spouse. If your spouse is toxic, if your spouse carries with him or her an atmosphere of dysfunction, how long do you think you're going to live in that environment and you're not going to be before you become infected by that? Right? Before you become infected by that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, just to give you, some backstory about how environments, we are products of our environments. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالْبَلَدُ الطَّيِّبُ يَخْرُجُ نَبَاتُهُ بِإِذْنِ رَبِّهِ. And the land that is good, land that is fertile, it produces its fruits and its vegetables by the permission of its Lord. Because it's good, it's fertile land. He said, وَالَّذِي خَبُثَ لَا يَخْرُجُ إِلَّا نَكِدًا. And the land that is infertile, the land that is corrupt, the land that is corroded, the land that is polluted, it will scarcely produce anything. It will not produce anything of benefit. All right? So when we start talking about land, we start talking about environments, right? And you are a product of the environment that you are living in. We can't expect children to come to school, for those of us who are teachers and school administrators, right? We can't expect children to come to school and function like good little children when they come from some of the most dysfunctional, morally polluted homes on the face of our planet. And then these children come to school and we have all of these great expectations about these children. Muhammad, sit down. Abdullah, stop talking. Did you just say what I think you said? Go stand in the corner. Go downstairs to the principal's office. You got to understand the environments that these children come from. The turf that they come from is polluted. As Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala said, إِذَا تَأَمَّلْتَ فَالْفَسَادِ فِي الْأَوْلَادِ تَرَى أَكْثَرَ الْفَسَادِ فِي الْأَوْلَادِ مِنْ قِبْلِ آبَاءِ. All right, Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala, he said that if you pay attention to the corruption of any child, you will find that most of the pollution and the corruption of the children comes from their parents. Comes from their parents. The homes that these children came out of will tell you a lot. You understand? So, you know, as administrators, as teachers, we have to understand that what you see in front of you is just a product of the environment that they came from. We're, badgering the children and beating up on the children verbally and emotionally, trying to mold them and shape them into being what we believe is a good specimen of a good student. When in fact, number one, that's your perception of what a good student is. And number two, that child may not live up to your expectation because they have a plethora of challenges waiting for them the moment they leave your classroom. You understand? The moment they leave your classroom, they have a plethora of challenges waiting for them. We're at school trying to teach the children good morals and values, and the moment they leave the school, they got, disobedient parents coming to pick them up, blasting music, smoking cigarettes. Got his girlfriend in the car. You coming to pick your children up from Islamic school, and you got your girlfriend in the car. Come on, man. Come on. On top of peer pressure. So this is why the hadith of the man who killed 99 people, if you go back to that hadith, the hadith of the man who killed 99 people, when he went to the scholar and he said to the scholar, I killed 100 people, because at this time he had killed 100. And he said to the scholar, I killed 100 people. فَهَلِّ مِن تَوْبَةٍ, can I repent? And the scholar, he said to him, مَا يَحُولُ بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَ تَوْبِ إِلَى اللَّهِ, what can come in between you and your repentance to Allah? Meaning, nothing can stop you from repenting. But he gave him some advice. Listen to his advice. He said, انطلق إلى أرض كذا وكذا. He said, leave here and go to this particular environment. Right? Go to this particular environment. He said, فَإِنَّ بِهَا أُنَاسٌ يَعْبُدُونَ اللَّهِ. He said, there you will find people worshiping Allah. فَعْبُدِ اللَّهَ مَعَهُمْ. Go worship Allah with them. Go worship God with those people over there. He said, وَلَا تَرْجِعْ إِلَى بَلَدِكَ هَذِهِ. And do not return to this environment of yours. فَإِنَّهَا أَرْضُ السُّوءِ. This is an evil place. This is the place where you committed your crimes. This is the place where you committed 100 murders. Why would you ever come back to this place? Why would you ever come back to this place? Obviously, this place is permeating with triggers for you. This land, this environment is a trigger for you. Don't come back to this place. Innaha ardu su. It is an evil place. It is a wretched, immoral place. This is the place where you committed 100 murders. We are made of clay, and therefore we get shaped by our environments. Very, very profound. Very, very profound. Thanks for sharing that, mashallah. Very profound. We are made from clay, and therefore we are shaped by any environment we find ourselves in. Very profound. MashaAllah. Way to make that connection. All right, so understand that, he told him, do not come back to this place. This is the place where you committed the 100 murders. Go to this particular land. There are people worshiping Allah. Go there and be with them. All right, so we are responsible for the environments in which we find ourselves in and the influences that we allow to impact us, and the lands that we depart from this world in are the lands that we are going to be questioned about. Did you know that? When the angel of death comes and takes your soul, right? When the angel of death comes to take your soul, the land in which the angel of death extracts your soul from your body, the place where your body lands, that part of the earth that your body is going to go back into, you are going to be questioned about that place. Absolutely. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Minha khalaqnakum wa fiha nu'idukum wa minha nukhrijukum taratan ukhra." Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, from the earth we created you, to the earth you will return, and from the earth we will resurrect you once again. The place in the earth where you die, you are going to be questioned about that place. Think about people who die in places that they had no business being. Your soul departed from your body at the time when you were in a place where you had no business. You was in a car with someone you had no business. You was in a bed with somebody you had no business. You was in the house of somebody you had no business. You were in an environment that you had no business. You flew out to Las Vegas. You flew out to Puerto Rico. You flew out to the Dominican Republic. You flew out to here, and all in pursuit of something that was haram, and your soul just so happened to depart from your body while you were in an environment that you had absolutely no business being. You will be questioned about the land in which you die, which is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says at the end of Surah Al-Luqman, وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No soul knows مَاذَا تَكْسِبُ غَدًا. No soul knows what is going to earn tomorrow, and no soul knows in what land it is going to die. Yeah, absolutely. وَمَا تَدْرِي نَفْسٌ بِأَيِّ أَرْضٍ تَمُوتُ. No soul knows what it is going to earn tomorrow, and no soul knows in what land it is going to die. You just pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala take your soul in a place and in a state in which He is pleased with you. Can you imagine dying in the Haram in Mecca? You imagine dying, wallah al-azim, my second to my last year in the Islamic University. You guys may have seen a picture of a man. It was a Pakistani brother who was there to make Umrah. He went down into sujood in the Prophet's masjid, and he never came up from sujood. He died right there in sujood. I was in the Islamic University the day that happened. The pictures begin, right? The pictures begin to spread all around the city of Medina. We were in the Islamic University. My professor stopped his class because the picture came to his phone. The picture came to his phone. He stopped his class and he said, Subhanallah. He said, here is a picture on my phone of a man who came here to make Umrah. He was praying in the Haram just a few minutes ago. He went down into sujood and he never came back up. His soul departed from his body while he was in the best place in the world that you could die in, and that is Medina. He was in the best place that he could be in as a human being, and that is in sujood. The closest place that you are to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while you are here having this human experience. The closest place that you could be to Allah during this human experiences of yours is in sujood. The best place on the earth for you to live and die is the Prophet ﷺ city, Al-Medina. And the most beloved place that you can die to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the masajid. And the best of the masajid is Masjid al-Haram, the Haramain, either the Haram in Mecca or the Haram in Medina. What more could an individual ask for? What more could you ask for? Versus you taking a trip to the Dominican Republic to go get your party on and go sleep with some foreign women that you can come back to America and nobody will ever know what you did behind closed doors. Right? Nobody will ever know what you did. And your soul decides, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides that your soul departs from your body while you are in that land there to do something haram. I feel sorry. I really do. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He makes our best deeds our last deeds. We prayed that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala يَجْعَلْ خَيْرَ أَعْمَالِنَا خَوَاتِيمَهَا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make the best of our deeds the last of our deeds. The last things that we do in this world before our soul departs from our body is the best thing that we could ever have done in this world. So we are responsible for the environments in which we reside. We are responsible for the environments and where we reside and how that environment influences us. And we are responsible for how and what land our souls depart from our bodies. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, listen to this carefully. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ تَوَفَّاهُمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ ظَالِمِي أَنفُسِهِمْ قَالُوا فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها وأولئك مأواهم جهنم وساءت مصيرا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, those whom the angels take their soul in a state of sin. Those whom the angels, when they extract their soul from their bodies, they extract their soul from their bodies while they're engaged in sin. Right? The angels asked them, قَالُوا فِيمَا كُنْتُمْ, in what state are we taking your soul? In what state are we taking your soul? قَالُوا كُنَّا مُسْتَضْعَفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ, they will say in their excuse that we were weak and oppressed in the earth. We couldn't leave. We live in a drug-infested environment and there's nowhere for me to go. If you have Section 8, if you have housing, if you have some form of income, you can go anywhere in the world, anywhere in America, and you can relocate. We choose to stay in these environments. We choose to stay in these environments, and we watch our children one by one lose their Islam, lose their religion, lose their morality, lose their virginity, lose their damn minds in these environments, and we still stay there. In the same house, in the same apartment, in the same block, on the same strip, on the same neighborhood. And we will not move to save our lives, not to save our religion, not to save our children. We see one child after another lose their mind, lose their religion, lose everything. Meanwhile, we show up to the masjid with our white thobe on. We still okay. Now, you not okay. If your children, one after one after one after another, lose their entire deen, meanwhile, you show up at the masjid with a white thobe on and you still talking about you on the haq, you Salafi, you this, you that, and all your children are astray, something is inherently wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. You don't get to sit from a place of privilege, pop up at the masjid with your white thobe on, talk about what this sheikh said and who you don't take from. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Meanwhile, every single one of your children is astray. You talking about this brother is astray, I don't take from him. Dude, your children are astray. Your children are astray. How about that? You talking about, I don't take from him, he's astray. The scholars warned against him, and I don't take from him because he's astray. Your children are astray. How about that? How about that? And that's real talk. Some of these same individuals who profess to be on this haq, right? Your children are some of the biggest drug dealers. Your children, born and raised Muslim, came out of your house. That's not to say that that can't happen to anybody. Wallah al-Azim, any one of us could be guilty of that. That could happen to any one of us. That could happen to any one of us. But when it happens to us, we feel sad for our children and we don't parade around, in our sense of, self-righteousness, acting as if everything, like we got it all figured out. That could happen to any one of us. But we're not parading around like we got it all under control. Meanwhile, your whole family is dysfunctional from top to bottom. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says the angels will say to them when they take their souls in the state that they take them in, the angels will ask them, wasn't Allah's earth spacious? Alam takun ardullahi wasi'ah? Right? Wasn't the earth of Allah spacious? Couldn't you have gone anywhere? And so the fear of every parent is to lose their child or their family member or their spouse to the environment in which they live. And Prophet Lut alayhi salam was sent to a people who no one before them had ever engaged in practice in the types of behaviors that they were engaging in. Before Prophet Lut, nobody on the face of this planet had ever practiced homosexuality or lesbianism, or to even be more frank, to practice sodomy. In the Bible, they are referred to as sodomites, because the action that they are doing of a man going into the back of another man, it is called sodomy. We've cushioned the term by calling them homosexuals, right? We've cushioned the term by saying that they're homosexuals. We cushion the term by saying LGBT community. When in fact, if we were to use the terms of the Bible, you are referred to as a sodomite. Someone who practices sodomy. A man who practices sodomy with another man. That's the term that the Bible uses. All right? No one prior to the people of Lut ever practiced this behavior. So for people who say, oh, they were born like this. What about the people who came before Prophet Lut? Nobody was ever born like that. Nobody was ever born like that. All right, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلُوطًا إِذْ قَالَ لِقَوْمِهِ أَتَأْتُونَ الْفَاحِشَةَ مَا سَبَقَكُمْ بِهَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِنَ الْعَالَمِينَ. And remember when Lut said to his people, oh my people, do you go into and practice an act of immorality مَا سَبَقَكُمْ بِهَا مِنْ أَحَدٍ مِنْ الْعَالَمِينَ, that no one before you had ever practiced this. No one prior to the people of Lut ever engaged. And this is for all of those who claim that they were born this way, that this is some type of, genetic mutation. This is some type of, gene, no, it's nothing genetic about that. Unless you are eating genetically modified food and therefore you become genetically modified, and that genetically modified food is beginning to disrupt and create dysfunction going on inside of your body, which causes you to incline towards that type of immoral behavior, then yes, you were born that way. Yes, you were born that way, and you can blame your parents for eating all of the genetically modified foods. You can blame your parents for not cleaning out their colons. You can blame your parents for not getting rid of the parasites out of their bodies through which they have passed on to you as their children, and they begin to create some type of dysfunction with your genes, with your biological makeup. Then in that case, yes, you were born that way. But from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the way that God created you, no, you weren't born that way. That's a choice. There are some influencers, right? Like soy, like the parasites in your body, like all of these other things. There are some influencers that begin to create some disruption and dysfunction with your biological makeup. Yeah, there's some influencers, but you weren't born that way biologically by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. La wallahi. There's nothing in the world that you can make me believe that. Sorry. No one before Prophet Lut ever engaged in this behavior. And then Lut said to his people, before we conclude, he said, إِنَّكُمْ لَتَأْتُونَ الرِّجَالَ شَهْوَةً مِّن دُونِ النِّسَاءِ بَلْ أَنْتُمْ قَوْمٌ مُسْرِفُونَ. Do you go to the backs of men, right? And yes, this is a real, Sister Monica, this is real innovation. This is real innovation. Absolutely. It was never done before. All right. So Lut said to his people, do you go to the backs of men out of desire and leave alone the women? And rather you are people who have transgressed all boundaries. Even after Lut directed them, he said, هَؤُلَاء بَنَاتِي إِن كُنْتُمْ فَاعِلِينَ, that here go the women in the community. If you want to have sexual relations, then use the women. Take advantage of that. Right? And they refused. They said to Prophet Lut, قَالُوا لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا لَنَا فِي بَنَاتِكَ مِنْ حَقٍّ وَإِنَّكَ لَتَعْلَمُ مَا نُرِيدُ. They said to Prophet Lut, we don't want women. You know what we want. And what they wanted was the two angels that Allah sent down to Prophet Lut alayhi salam to inform Prophet Ibrahim that he was pregnant with that his wife was pregnant with his second son Ishaq, and to inform Prophet Lut that he was going to destroy the entire town of Sodom and Gomorrah, and to take his family and to leave. That was the purpose of the angels. But the angels came down in the form of handsome men. So the people of Lut, they said to Lut, when he directed them to go to the women, they said, no, we have no desire for the women. لَقَدْ عَلِمْتَ مَا لَنَا فِي بَنَاتِكَ مِنْ حَقٍّ. We have no desire for the women in your community. إِنَّكَ لَتَعْلَمُ مَا نُرِيدُ. That you know full well what we want. And they wanted the two angels who came in the form of men. And when Lut reached the point where he reached the conclusion that he could no longer affect change within these people, that these people were immorally compromised, and that they would not yield to reason and intellect, Lut, he supplicated with the dua that we're going to make tonight, and that was, Rabbi najjini wa ahli mimma ya'malun. Rabbi najjini نجني وأهلي مما يعملون. ربي نجني وأهلي مما يعملون. ربي نجني وأهلي مما يعملون. Oh my Lord, save me and my family from what these people are doing. And this is a dua that we need to make now, because this stuff is permeating in our society, even within our ranks as Muslims. Rabbi najjini wa ahli mimma ya'malun. Oh Allah, keep me and my family free and save us from the actions of these individuals, or what they are doing. Sometimes we might have to make this dua even within our own family unit. We got children, and then we got a mom that don't pray, father don't pray, this one don't do this, and we just got to ask Allah to keep me and my squad, me, my wife, my kids, within my larger family unit, keep us, safe from what the rest of our family is doing. We don't want to be like them. Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Right? Rabbi najjini wa ahli mimma ya'malun. Oh my Lord, save me and my family from what they are doing. We don't want no parts of that. We don't want any parts of it. We don't want to be part of it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answered the dua of Prophet Lut with the exception of Lut's wife. She had been compromised. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ وَأَهْلَهُ إِلَّا امْرَأَتَهُ كَانَتْ مِنَ الْغَابِرِينَ. That we saved Lut and his family with the exception of his wife. She was of those who were destroyed. Meaning, you can't save everybody. Even though you make dua for your entire family, perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has not decreed that all of your family are saved. But we still supplicate. We still make dua. Nonetheless, we make dua and we hope that Allah answers our prayers and saves our entire family. However, some of our family are not going to make it. Some of our families are not going to make it. For Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, it was his son, and for Prophet Lut, it was his wife. These were two prophets who supplicated to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the savior to save their families, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved most of them, but there were some who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not write for them guidance. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us, save our families from the wickedness and the immorality of the people that are around us. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and write us from amongst those whom He has written for guidance. As we supplicate you here every night in the Taraweeh prayer for the Qunut, Allahumma hdina fi man hadait. Oh Allah, guide me or guide us amongst those whom you have guided. Allahumma hdina fi man hadait. Wa afina fi man afait. Wa tawallana fi man tawallait. Oh Allah, guide us amongst those whom you have guided. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. And just really quickly before I end, just to reiterate our Eid, our Brothers Eid Fashion Challenge. I put a challenge out this morning that for any brother and their children, any boys, those of your families, you have boys in your families, we want to show up at the Eid, inshallah ta'ala, dressed in our best. I spoke to some of the administrators at Philadelphia Masjid right before I started my class, and they are now putting money together for a prize for the best dress of the day, on the day of the Eid. In Philadelphia, if you're in the Philadelphia area, South Jersey area, and you can get over to Philadelphia Masjid has now begun to put up money for the best dress on the day of the Eid, inshallah ta'ala. So, and of course, Muhammad said that he believes that he's going to win. So, it's on. It's on. All right. So, no, it's not about the sisters. It's about the brothers, inshallah. Sisters, you guys have had tons of fashion shows. Men, we don't have fashion shows. All right. We got one opportunity to, show up, dress, sharp as a tack, show up and, look really nice. And that is the day of the Eid. And we are representative of you. As your wives, as our wives, we are representatives of you. So although this is not about you, in fact, it still is about you, because as men, we are representatives of our families. We are representatives of our families. So on the day of the Eid, inshallah ta'ala, and even if you're not in the Philadelphia area, whatever masjid you are in, wherever you are, whatever masjid you are in, whatever community you are a part of, take pictures of your Eid outfit, you're dressed in your Eid clothes, or whatever the case may be, and use the hashtag Brothers Eid Fashion, Brothers Eid Fashion, Eid Fashion Challenge, Brothers Eid Fashion Challenge 2018. That is the hashtag. Use that hashtag when you post your pics, and allow the ummah to see, the beauty of Islam in character and in clothing. In character and in clothing, right? In character and in clothing. Nothing wrong with that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Ya bani Adam, laqad anzalna alaykum libasan liyuwari su'atikum wa risha. O children of Adam, indeed we have sent down to you clothes to cover your bodies and for adornment, a beautification. Nothing wrong with beautification. Nothing wrong with a person liking his thobe nice, his shoes nice, right? You can enter from wherever you are. You show up in Philly on that day at Philadelphia Masjid. They're having it in the park. If you show up in Philly on that day, what you can do is you can nominate someone. So if you see someone that is dressed very nicely and you like that and you want to nominate them, ask them for their name, write their name on a piece of paper, and they will have a bucket for you to put the person's name in. After Salatul Asr, they will shake the buckets up. They will choose 3 names. And those 3 names will be from the hundreds of people that will be out there, right? That will be for the hundreds of people out there. They are only going to select 3 people. And then out of those 3, the loudest Allahu Akbar will determine who's the winner. And Philadelphia Masjid has now decided that they're going to put up money for the best dress of that day. All right. And of course, this is for the best dressed men, the best dressed groups of brothers. If you're in your clique, you're in your squad, best dressed male children, boy children, and of course, families. All right. Families, husbands, wives, children, and the best families dress as well. So those are the 4 categories. The 4 categories is the best dressed brother, single, best dressed clique for the brothers who are, in groups, and people like to show up in the Eid in their squad and their cliques and their groups. The best dressed family and the best dressed male children. Right? So this is on the day of the Eid, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Philadelphia Masjid, which is in West Philadelphia, off of Wyalusing, 4700 Wyalusing Avenue. They have the Eid out in the park there.
I saw that you're talking about the Maqdis.
No, not that one. You're talking about Masjid al-Aqsa. Masjid al-Aqsa. No, not هذا غير.
Usually